Yankee, there's this book called Nurture Shock, and I think the basic premise of this book is that lying is good for business.
Well, I'm not certain I would have described it that way, but of course you're quite right. And that is the message. The authors are Poe, Bronson and Ashley Merriman. And what's interesting is these are not business writers. This is not really a business book. But if you read the book, I think, properly, that is definitely the conclusion. They are child psychologists, and they did studies on children and lying, and they draw conclusions about that I think are very relevant to business.
Okay, tell me about the relevance to business, and tell me a little bit about this experiment.
Okay, well, they did a remarkable study. They took kids and they got the parents to coach the kids to be able to tell a true story and a fabricated story. And then the kids were videoed with an interviewer who didn't know which story was true or not. And they were, all these stories are videoed. And then from the whole load of stories, 8 stories were extracted randomly and shown to a panel of people. And what's amazing is that most people, including professionals, if you like, whose professional life depends on spotting lying, were no better than random 50% as to when the kids were lying and when they were not lying.
Okay, now, in the book, it sort of explains that the ability of kids to lie is almost an essential skill to get on in life. So tell me a little bit about that. And then, because this is about relevance to business, so just tell me a little bit about that. Okay. and the relevance.
In terms of the study, they say that kids learn to lie much earlier than we maybe like to think they do. But they say that lying is a necessary skill. It's a skill that shows that we are discerning. It's a skill that shows that we can see one reality and we can look at another alternate reality and decide to choose the lie because it suits us. In other words, this is an advanced cognitive skill that we have, and not something that we should throw our hands up in horror and say, oh my God, look at them little criminals and they're only 3 years old. And I think that my reading of this for business is, it might sound obvious, but the fact is, if lying is a good skill, if lying is something which shows that we are using our cognitive tools rather than relying on honesty, which is awfully boring and doesn't show that we're terribly smart at thinking and outthinking, then maybe we need to be more honest about lying. We need to be more honest about lying at school, and more honest about lying maybe in teaching business skills, because no one talks about the way in which the truth can be manipulated. I don't see that in many business courses, but maybe it's time it was faced, because what he's saying is it's not the end of the world and it can sometimes be very important to lie. Now, I don't think he's talking about fraud. I don't think that's the message here. But if we accept that we are all good liars, I think that we can maybe hone some of our business skills based on that a little better than we've done.